I have almost 100 slides, so it's going to go very fast. And there's lots of references to other stuff, so if you're like, wait, what was that one URL he mentioned? What was that one stat? The entire presentation's online, on SlideShare, at bit.ly/randsignal. All right, cool. So let's have a little fun together. Let's go online. Let's spend like 5 minutes online surfing together like you normally would. So here we go. Oh, pull down my phone. There are 15 new messages, 7 new interactions. Yeah, let's go to Twitter. No, 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 blah, blah, meh, meh, Oh, all right. That's nice of Richard to add me to his circles. I should check them, but yeah, I'm not gonna. Oh, I can skip that. Oh, right, Facebook. Yeah, I should probably look at those notifications, but I'm not going to. 283 friend requests. Shit. That's just not gonna happen. I don't even know. Woo! Baby pictures. Wow, some asshole trying to ruin the gender balance progress we've been making. I'm paying attention to this one, actually. I kind of hate people like that. Babies. Yeah. No, don't care. No, don't care. Hacker News. Yeah, I might read that one. That technology prediction, that looks interesting. Rest of these, no. No. Ugh, email. Actually, that was only like 4 minutes. Does that feel pretty familiar? Right? You're just like, yeah, whatever. One thing stands out. So you think to yourself, right, as a web marketer, you're like, there's more people online, spending more time online than ever. One of the interesting stats, I don't know if you caught KPCB's deck, the one that Mary Meeker puts together every year. She just launched it yesterday again. Great stats, great internet trends. One of the most interesting ones to me was mobile has not cannibalized or killed time we spend on desktop. I thought mobile was killing desktop. No, mobile is killing free time. It's true. Desktop has stayed the same for about 4 or 5 years. It's actually up a little bit than it was 5 years ago. It's just that mobile has eaten all the rest of the time when we were doing other things. Like if you're bored by this presentation, you're like, and we're all clicking more stuff. So what does this mean? Well, that should mean that it's easier to get web traffic, right? No, it's harder. I think Andrew Chen said it really well. The law of shitty click-through rates is what is determining what's going on here, right? That essentially, like, over time, as any medium goes from hyper new to, yeah, we've seen it before, the click-through rate drops dramatically. Do you remember when Instagram first came out and you were like hearting everything that every friend did? Wow, you took a picture. Heart, 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 heart. It's like Facebook, like, poke, 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 poke. But then it goes right down. So this is your brain. That's the part that pays attention. And that's the internet. Pew, 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 pew. There's actually a scientific law describing this. It's called brain plasticity. And brain plasticity says that as we get more and more familiar with and addicted to the fast responses that we receive from the web today, we have less and less engagement with it, and we get better and better at filtering it out. Right? So like go back in time 1,000 years, drop someone from that time period in Times Square, and their brain is gone. Like they cannot handle it at all. Likewise, take someone from 30 or 40 years ago, drop them on a mobile device and tell them, okay, go sort through all the things, all those notifications that you have. They'd be like, oh, what? I'm used to reading a newspaper. It's overwhelming, but our brains handle it by filtering out the noise and getting good at identifying signal. And this leaves us in a very tough position, a very frustrating position. Either we find a way to stand out from the crowd, or we are lost. We are just the noise. And to be quite honest, this is 95, 99% of all the work that we do. We're the noise, not the signal. So I think we want to change that, and to that end, I've been working for a long time on strategies that help folks stand out. First one, the less accessible an opportunity is, the harder it is to get to, the fewer people are doing it and doing it well, which means the better an opportunity there is to be signal instead of noise. I'll show you some examples, right? So in SEO, everyone chases the same keywords. Why? Because when you go to AdWords and you search for, right, keyword volume, and you're looking up like how many people are searching for this, okay, well, so Vincent, in addition to being our sound guy, also does PPC, which is super awesome. All right, Venn diagram calculator, here's how many searches there are. Great, I'm gonna target that. Look, no other results were returned for this query. Well, that's baloney. I was going to use a stronger term, but because when I do a search in Google, look, it's suggesting all these other ones. If no one's searching for these, why do they appear here? Why is AdWords lying to me? Well, it turns out if you go and enter those specifically into AdWords, they will tell you that in fact they do have search volume. AdWords is hiding that data, which is awesome if you know how to get around that. Because when they hide that data, very few people target those terms and phrases. Great way to be signal, not noise. Great way to stand out from the crowd. You can use a couple of tools to do this automatically. Uber suggests in Keyword Toolio, keywordtool.io, are two of my favorites. You can also, this is something I only found this year, but you can use wildcards inside here too, which I had no idea that you could do. So you basically put your cursor back inside a word, and then you can see all the things that Google would suggest inside of there. Again, none of that stuff came up when I searched in AdWords. Related searches at the bottom of Google, another way to get at that. If you want, you can try using Google Correlate. Google Correlate, such an old tool, I don't think Google still knows that they have it. No, you know how I know this? Look at the logo. It's the old logo from like 2006 or 2007. That's the old Google logo, right? With the it's not flat, the colors are different. I think they forgot they have this tool. It will probably be destroyed at some point, but you can use it for now. The hardest way to do this, by the way, is to manually extract topics, right? So I go somewhere like Data is Beautiful on Reddit, and I extract out, oh, here's what people are talking about in the data visualization world. Those probably have search volume and queries. No one's doing this because it's very, very hard, and there's no great way to automate it. Things that are automatable or already automated have people engaging in them. Things that don't, less accessible. Likewise, the top influencers, right? So in any given field, when you're doing web marketing, you're probably thinking, oh, how do I reach the influencers, the people who are very, very passionate about this topic, who reach lots of folks, who have thousands of followers all over the place? Well, yeah, all right. So I go to data visualization. This is inside a tool called FollowWonk. I go to data visualization, and all right, the upshot, Power BI, there's Data is Beautiful. This is pretty much what everyone does when they do influencer outreach, right? They sort by number of followers, which is fine, that's reasonable to think about, but those people, those accounts, no matter what network we're talking about here or what publication, the most followed, most engaged are always getting pinged by marketers like us, right? PR people, bloggers, people who are trying to do outreach to them. They're overwhelmed, and therefore, they filter most everything out. Which makes sense, right? They're overwhelmed. Well, maybe instead of looking at them, we could look at who influences them, right? So then I can go and look at who are the most mentioned users. This is again inside FollowWonk, but I can go look and see who are the most mentioned users. Who do those people talk about, quote, retweet, engage with the most? That's a potentially much better way, much easier way to reach them. Or I could sort my influencers by more useful metrics. right? Instead of sorting just by follower count, I could look at a metric like social authority, which takes into account not just raw followers, it's the likelihood that they are retweeted.
Lists, right?
Yeah, you can look at lists as well, absolutely. Absolutely, good suggestion. This is the easiest suggestion that I have, but I don't know why no one does it. Scroll down. Like, scroll down, right? Seriously, the top 10 accounts in any given space, it doesn't have to be Twitter, right? But the top 10 accounts, everybody's pinging them. 11 through 50, far fewer people are talking to them. Scroll down. Okay. Oftentimes, I think we get told again and again, hey, we need to pursue channels and tactics that scale. Stuff that scales is what I want my web marketing team doing, says, CEOs and executive teams everywhere. Well, the beautiful thing about things that don't scale is they really stand out from the crowd. Have you ever gotten that personalized service feeling when you visit a small business, or even if you have a big business experience, right, a great experience with an airline or a hotel, and you go, wow, that was very impressive. I don't know how they managed to do that, but I really appreciate it. A friend of mine, for example, was staying at a hotel, a Kimpton hotel, and they figured out, I think based on some social profile he had online, that he didn't really like wine, but he loved bourbon, and so they had a bourbon flight of glasses waiting for him in his hotel room with like little plastic wrap over the top so no one had messed with it. It was pretty nice. This is Alex Turnbull from Grove, and I think he wrote a brilliant post about this, which you can check out online if you want, about growth tactics that don't scale and why they stand out from the field, including an email from the founder, Alex, to every single new customer. That seems impossible, but he does it. I'm impressed. Mark Traphagen, if you don't know him or haven't seen him on Twitter or Google+, I don't think he's actually a human being. I've met him in person, but I think he's a robot. Like an artificial intelligence sent to show us what incredible participation on the web can look like. That's one of the non-scalable activities that I engage in is simply being extremely responsive, right? So if you email me, my email address is rand@moz, it's like well known, you can find it anywhere. I'll actually reply to every email that I get, which is very time consuming, very challenging, but creates lots of hard to replicate goodwill in a non-scalable format. Another suggestion, strategy. Try to invest in formats that other people are ignoring. I'll show you what I mean. It's my general theory that the easier content is to create, the harder it is to stand out, to get that content noticed. And it builds a competitive advantage. So here's my like mini scale. Easier side, right? A tweet, a photo, a blog post, a useful guide. But when they start getting harder, a good video is hard to produce. A guest contribution for a notable publisher, just challenging to replicate. All the way up to, oh, I built a mobile app. Oh, I have a physical product. Oh wait, I have a successful, scalable community. That's hard. That's insanely hard to build. But it's a crazy powerful marketing device. This side, everybody's doing it. This side, not so much. I think one of the interesting things that I see in the world of engagement is that the fastest growing platforms in social networking are all visual, right? These are fastest growing last year: Pinterest, Tumblr, Instagram, then LinkedIn, then YouTube, right? Like Twitter, Google+, Facebook, they're actually slower growing than any of those other ones, which is not to say they're not big. But I think that suggests visuals have unique power. Do you guys like that? Based on the number of graphs in it, how convincing will you find this post? This is like real psychology stuff. So like researchers have looked at it and they'll say, so for example, if you put a bunch of people in front of a paragraph that says climate change is real and it is caused by human beings, A bunch of people will read that, and then they'll take a little quiz and they'll say, no, I don't believe it. However, if you show them a visual with the same data that was in that paragraph, a visual like this one, more people will say, oh yes, I believe that that is true. Because evolution? I don't know. We're just crazy, right? Our mental models are nuts. Unfortunately, most marketing investments in visuals just plain suck. Like, they're terrible. I have names for all of them. This is the stock-neric, right? Stock photo, generic. Like, that, come on, that's not a visual. The borporate, boring and corporate. It's just wonderful. And finally, the illegfographic. You can't read it, and you wouldn't want to anyway. If you can stand out from that crowd, amplification is way easier to achieve, right? That's some stats on Twitter in particular, right? But tweets with images do far, far better, as long as they're not borporate, illegfographic, stock-neric. My personal experience has been that authentic and amateur images, visuals, like this one, which I just made in like old Flash file, right? This is not, it's like a square with more squares underneath it in text. But this has literally thousands of shares. It's appeared in hundreds of presentations on SlideShow. Like, it's going crazy. This, designed by a professional designer, like, look at that. That panda's adorable. It did a great job. Sharing, not so much. I can't describe exactly what it is, but there's something about the authenticity and amateur nature of some visuals that really speaks to folks and seems to get that amplification. All right. The less directly a tactic leads to sales or leads, the less the competition. So, most of us are focused on, right, the marketing funnel. Get more and more people through these steps and you get paid. But investments in education, entertainment, way less crowded, right? This kind of thing, data visualization tools, where everybody's trying to sell you a data visualization tool, overcrowded, completely filled with ads. But this one, for Venn diagram examples in logic, which will probably lead you to a lot of the same people who eventually will buy this stuff, no competition at all. So I like to think of all the things that people are doing before they become someone in a funnel, especially before they become someone in my competitors' funnels, right? Like, if you know what your audience is doing up there, before they get in the funnel, you can target them in places your competitors aren't trying. You can be signal instead of noise, and it's way easier to stand out. If you don't know this already, research or ask. Run a survey. Third strategy, adopt early. Adopt before your competition is. This works very, very well because usually in marketing, particularly in web marketing, I don't have a great explanation for this, but big companies are very conservative about their marketing spend and investments, which makes nimble players, particularly startups and agencies, able to run circles around them. So we see that Facebook's ads are finally, after a while, reaching some saturation, right? Click-through rates are down. It's harder to get engagement. The costs are going up. It's not as cheap as it used to be. But these platforms are just getting started. Right, so Instagram, which has just released some promoted pins, native advertising in places like StumbleUpon and across the web too. This one's from in-image ads, which are relatively new and pretty cool. Reddit has some advertising options that are also pretty cool and tend to have, some of the Reddit ads have very high click-through rate depending on the subreddits they target. And when you're in a subreddit, you can get very particular about who you're reaching there. One of the other ones that I didn't throw in here, but I saw they just came out with something like in the last 4 or 5 days is Tinder's advertising. Have you guys seen it? I just went on Tinder. I'm married. I am not like looking, but I use Tinder a lot because I think they're like the future of how mobile and apps and interactive tech will work. And so I was on there and I'm like, yeah, look at that. I never swipe right on anyone, but I always swipe left. And you get a bunch of ads in there, like they're promoting movies to me, and I have to swipe the movie left. I don't even remember the movie, but I'm sure my iguana brain remembers, and then when I see it come out, I'll be like, oh yeah, I have some sort of weird association with that. Mobile friendly, I think mobile friendly at this point is table stakes. Like everybody's doing mobile friendly, blah, blah, but some people are trying mobile first. Tinder's a good example of that, but take a look at what Tinder has done by being not just mobile friendly, but mobile first. That is a graph of market share for dating sites in the US. What's that red line? Holy crap! Like, remember when people used to find people on other networks? Those days are over. In 3 years from launch, basically, Tinder has completely dominated the market by tapping into the psychology of what people are really looking for from dating apps. Very impressive. Also impressive, there's, if you have a chance, go check this out on your mobile phone. You can find it via the SlideShare. There's some recent experiments that I showed off here from CNN that look at like essentially content that is made for mobile first. And they're doing some very cool stuff with it. They're getting some big shares and engagement. Kind of fascinating. I'm very impressed. So basically, you know, you're swiping or clicking these arrows through the story, and you can see this is really built for a mobile experience. Quite cool. Same story here with early adoption. If you can target keyword sites, influencers before they become popular, you can have very impressive results. Sweet ad deal from MailChimp here by noticing that Nice was kind of firing up and getting a ton of designers and visual artists to participate on the site. Boom. Today's news, right? Whatever is going on in news, and you can use pop URLs, you could use Google News, you can use whatever's in your industry, but whatever's news today will be searched. You see something on Facebook or on Twitter and you don't actually read the article, you just retweet or share it. And it's like, what? You did. And therefore, you know, when you go and look at your analytics, you're like, this has 10,000 shares and 2,000 page views. How did that happen? There you go. Facebook likes of movies, well correlated with how they perform at the box office, right? No correlation or very little correlation between Facebook and stock activity. We use correlation data intelligently in lots of places. Conversion rate optimization, sure, and in advertising. But for some reason, if you get into correlation in the SEO field, like everyone loses their mind. I don't know why this is. I'm not sure. I don't have a great explanation, but I would like, well, here you go, articles written about how I'm an idiot for using correlation in SEO, but like what I'm interested in is really understanding what's going on at Google at a little bit of a deeper level than what the surface says. So here's a Google representative. You don't know him. He used to be the head of WebSpan at Google. This is Matt Cutts. But just because you implement schema.org doesn't necessarily mean you should rank higher. You could take that to mean one of two things. You could take that to mean, why bother with schema? I won't rank any higher. Or you could, this is my interpretation, schema might boost your rankings because click-through rate, which is improved by schema, does have a direct and sometimes indirect effect on rankings. Aha! Correlation, not causation, right? Think about analyzing your data. So if you say, oh, look, we added these schema to these pages, we seem to be performing better. There you go. Correlation is not going to tell you why a site or page ranks higher than another one. It will simply tell you what these higher ranking sites are doing that these lower ranking sites are not doing. I'm deeply interested in that. I think we should all be deeply interested in what people who are performing better are doing that people who are not performing well are missing out on. Right. Last one. I think the hardest to measure tactic, especially for web marketers, and particularly inbound marketers and SEOs, is brand. Just tough, right? But web searchers are super biased by brand. So this is a Microsoft study from a couple years ago, and I liked what they did. So basically, they look at what would make someone click differently between different snippets. And one of the strongest predictors, in fact, the strongest predictor that they saw in this study was not the title, right, this blue part here, or the description. It was this. In fact, specifically this first part, the domain name. People are very biased in their search results by brands. If you have a brand association, before you get to a search, you will scroll down until you find, oh yeah, I know them, I trust them, I like them, and then you'll click that. And that's what searchers in general do. In fact, about 25% more often, even with a less relevant snippet. Oof. Man, all this SEO I've been doing, I need to be building my brand too. So given we know something about SEO, we performed a bunch of experiments last year showing that, for example, you can, long story short, you can check this out here for all the details, but basically if lots of people start clicking on a result, like number 7 here, you can move that up to the top of the rankings very, very fast. As long as these are real people, real human beings, real accounts, right? That's a signal to Google that this is what people care about in this search result right now. And we also know that topical domain authority, meaning that Google has identified that this website is an authority in a particular space or around a particular set of topics. Also very, very important. So if we can drive up those two things, right, the association that people have with us being an authority in our space and our click-through rate, brand becomes a huge asset for doing these things. I actually think that brand advertising might be a part of the future of how we engage in search engine optimization, in social media marketing, and as a result, a lot of people, I think today, are undervaluing the investment that they put in brand advertising. Like they are not realizing, oh yeah, I'm spending this much on brand, here's the lift I expect to get, here's how much I think I can spend to reach this many people. Oh wait, I forgot about the secondary and tertiary value of brand investments. When you figure those in, you can get some remarkable results. And there's a great case study on this from an agency in Philadelphia called Seer Interactive that I urge you folks to check out. And with that, you can find this presentation online, and thank you very much.